there. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Wednesday, September 24th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers. Today on the show, we have a little buy or sell for next season, hitters who are finishing strong, updated postseason picture. It was a crazy Tuesday night, and much more. Let's jump in.
Oh my goodness! Unbelievable!
All right, Chris, we'll start with you. Talk about your arch nemesis, Gavin Williams.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Gavin Williams is he's been really good the last two starts after not being all that impressive despite a very low ERA for most of the season. And this is always the thing that I have to try to remind myself of, and I think I do an okay job of mentioning when talking about a guy like Gavin Williams. I think it also applies to like Cade Horton. What they are doing is not sustainable based on how they are doing it, but these guys are really talented, and they could make the adjustments needed to become as good as their ERAs this season have made them look. And, you know, Gavin Williams, it's now 21 strikeouts over the past two starts. He got 12 of them in this start. It was, I believe, 18 swinging strikes, 7 on the curveball, 6 on the sweeper, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was arguably the most dominant start of his season. I think his two best starts have come over the last two, and it's the kind of thing that if he could do this more regularly, he could absolutely be a low threes ERA pitcher and a studly fantasy option. And at least now he's giving us some hints that he is capable of more than he has shown this season, which I understand is people will take umbrage with me saying that about a guy with a 3.06 ERA, but the underlying numbers are significantly worse. He has been like bottom 15 in K- walk rate this season. He has not been nearly as good as his ERA. The last two starts are showing that he could be, and that's big. And there have been some under the surface. You know, he's been kind of a different pitcher at various points, not just throughout this season, but throughout his career. He changes his pitch mix a lot. This year, it's expanded, 5-pitch mix, but it's more curveballs and sweepers lately. It was 49% combined today. And, you know, maybe that's the answer. Maybe it's just that he needs to use those pitches around 50% of the time, throw a bunch of four-seamers, which is a good whiff pitch for him, and maybe that's the answer to Gavin Williams, living up to all that, the potential that he has shown. I don't know. This is the kind of start that does make me get FOMO about the fact that I'm not likely to draft Gavin Williams very much next season.
And I think it goes back a little bit further than that. You know, you can stretch back and kind of pick his season apart. And, you know, if you start the arbitrary endpoint at a certain point, I think his ERA over his last 15 or 20 starts is amazing. But specifically over his last 5 starts, it's a 1.74 ERA and a 1.06 whip. 38 strikeouts to 11 walks over 31 innings during that time, with a 13% swinging strike rate. I mean, if you're getting whiffs at that rate, and we think he's capable of doing that, right? His breaking pitches are amazing. Now his fastballs have been hit pretty hard, and his control is still very suspect. I don't want to put a cap on a pitcher who is just 26 years old and had a ton of prospect pedigree, because, again, he could take another step forward next season. I still think there's a lot of volatility in the profile, specifically because of the control, but he is reminding us that, those breaking pitches are amazing. And look, this was a tough spot too, right?
Oh, yeah, huge performance.
Must-win game against Tarek Skubal. Now, you know, Skubal kind of did some questionable things himself to kind of cause the turnaround in that game for the Guardians. But yeah, Gavin Williams was incredible in this one, and he's done it 2 times in a row against the Tigers too, when they've needed him most. So.
The spirit of Mark Burley overtook him, and then I don't know, what was replaced by the spirit of Mark Hendrickson mid play, because he tried to do the Burley through the legs with the glove and rocketed it out into right field. And you know, Tarek Skubal gave up three runs in this one, only 1 earned. It's one of those ones where it's like, if the pitcher makes the error, it should be earned, right? Like, am I off base here?
For a while, they were earned runs, and then they changed it after the inning. As someone who is rostering Tarek Skubal in Tout Wars and trying to, chase down first place, I was like, no, please don't charge these runs. But you're probably right. There's probably something to that, especially I think the other unearned run was a wild pitch that he also threw. So.
Yeah, but the 3 runs he allowed, I don't think the Guardians hit the ball out of the infield.
No, they did. They did
in
not.
that inning.
No, they didn't. So
yeah, weird stuff.
Look, it's only a 2-start or 5-start stretch here for Gavin Williams, but is he showing you enough to change your mind for next season?
Maybe it's enough to make him more of a top 40 or top 36 starting pitcher, where I don't think I was going to do that at the beginning, at the end of August. It is still like a 4.35 xERA. Entering the start, it'll certainly go down. The whip or the FIP is still 440. So I'm still much more likely to I'm more likely to have him outside of the top 30 than inside. I don't know what that means as far relative to ADP or consensus, because that hasn't happened yet, and we're kind of, value is ultimately what matters, especially a pitcher. And so, I do think you can say, like, gosh, where do we think Dylan Cease is going to be ranked? Do you think Dylan Cease will be ranked higher than Gavin Williams?
I think so, given his track record. I guess
much better peripherals too.
The landing spot could kind of, sway some of that as well. I could be way off about this. I don't think Gavin Williams is going to be close to drafted as a top 30 pitcher next season.
Okay.
I think he's going to be closer to 40. I think a lot of people who do what we do and play fantasy baseball competitively are going to look at a lot of the same numbers and realize, all right, maybe Gavin Williams was pitching over his head a little bit. Now they'll look at the end of the season and say, all right, he started to kind of figure it out here. I think it'll be more like a top 40, top 36, draft, like your SP3 or SP4 for next season.
At this point, that feels okay.
Yeah. And again, we're so early in the process. I could be way off about that, but we'll see. Player of the night for me is Ohtani, the pitcher. We spent so much time talking about the hitter. He tossed more than 5 innings for the first time this season at the D-backs, and entering the start, the Dodgers said that they wanted to have Ohtani pitch into the 6th inning, stretch him out a little bit more because they want to use him as a starter in the postseason. And based on the way that this start went, that's a good decision. I think that they should use Ohtani as a starter rather than a reliever and outfielder in the postseason. And he
might be their best pitcher, which is crazy.
I mean, based on what he did here, obviously, look, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, those guys.
Oh, they've got a lot.
Well, but Glasnow here against a really formidable D-backs lineup. I said it, yeah. Ohtani, 6 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts, 0 walks, had 16 whiffs on 91 pitches, 9 of those on the fastball, 3 on the curve, 3 on the sweeper, and he has allowed just 1 earned run total over his last 4 starts. Also has 27 strikeouts, just 4 walks during that span. And it lowers his ERA on the season to 2.87 with a 105 whip, nearly 12 K per 9, under 2 walks per 9. Yeah, he looks like the real deal. And, if he can maintain throwing around 90 pitches, he probably should just be a starter in the postseason as well. For most leagues, at least on CBS, where he's just one player, you have to decide before the week starts whether to use him as a hitter or pitcher. His pitching performances don't really matter to you all that much because you're never going to use him. I have argued this before, and I will argue it till the end of time. I think that if you draft Ohtani, you should get all of his production, and he should just completely break fantasy because that's what he's done in real life. But, I've got to talk to some developers about that and making that a thing.
You know what? That's fine. I will just say, when your position players are out there pitching in a blowout and they give up 8 runs, that should hurt your ERA too. That wouldn't really matter. There aren't really any fantasy relevant guys who actually do that. But I think we need to be consistent. I do want to point out with Ohtani, this stretch of 4 starts where he's been absolutely dominant, it's like 27 strikeouts in 17 innings or something crazy. It also basically coincides with him bringing out his full arsenal. I think he threw his curveball for the first time maybe 1 or 2 starts before this 4-start stretch. I think that was his second most used pitch today, if I'm remembering correctly. And it's been a great pitch. He's got a full 7-pitch arsenal now. He had 3 whiffs, threw it 12 times. It might just be that the last 4 or 5 starts, and one of them was really bad, the next 4 have been amazing, are just the first time we're seeing a fully unlocked Shohei Ohtani as a pitcher. And it's a reminder that he might be a top 10 pitcher in baseball as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was going with this discussion, is for people who play in leagues where he's 2 different players. If you play on Yahoo, I believe he's 2 different players. I think on ESPN, you do just get all of his stats as one player.
Mm-hmm.
At least in a points league, I know that. I'm not too sure about categories leagues on ESPN. As a pitcher next season, it's so hard to project his innings. We have no idea. But, I mean,
I would say I
there's
can't
an
see him
argument
throwing.
that he'll be, I mean, probably deserves to be drafted ahead of Gavin Williams as just a pitcher.
I think he's a better pitcher.
For sure.
I don't actually think there's that much
On a
question.
per
It's
inning
just
basis, he might be a top 12 pitcher. How many innings do you like? 100 next season? I don't know.
I would think 150 is the absolute max. What's he going to end up with this season? Like 60?
Right.
Maybe he gets up to closer to 80 with the postseason if they make a long run.
Yeah. He is up to 47 right now.
Okay, so right around 50. Maybe 150 is a little aggressive, but he is
probably 100 to 125, I think.
But maybe 150 in an absolute best case scenario isn't impossible, and if that happens, I think he's probably just going to be a top 24 starting pitcher. And even if it's just 125 innings, I mean, top 40 pitcher, you're going to get a very good pitcher when he's out there. And, they might skip a few starts or whatever. I think he's someone you definitely want around. It'll be hard to draft him. He will be someone who is ranked higher in season than he is preseason, I would say.
And Ohtani did throw 132 innings back in 2023. He got all the way up to 166 back in 2022. His career as a pitcher before this start, 3.03 ERA, 108 WHIP, 11.4 K per nine. I mean, that's ace production from Ohtani. So, in leagues where you play with him as just a pitcher and you're going to use him there, he's definitely going to be relevant for next season. Before we get into the playoff picture, I just want to let everyone know that I have won the Taylor Ward cereal bet. So take that, Scott. 35 homers for my guy, Taylor Ward. I don't know. What cereal should I request? I don't know. Let us know in the comments. Tweet at me and Scott. I got to think it through. I have a few of my own favorites, but perhaps I will allow the audience to influence my cereal decision here on this Taylor Ward winning bet. Congrats to the Mariners and Yankees who clinched playoff spots here. The updated playoff picture, the Blue Jays also lost here on Tuesday. The Yankees now 1 game behind in the AL East, technically 2 games because the Blue Jays have the tiebreaker, so they have to finish. The Yankees would have to finish 1 game ahead to win the division. The Guardians, as we mentioned, they were down 2-0 in this game against Tarek Skubal. They came back to win it. The AL Central is now tied. The Tigers had a 15-game lead at the beginning of July, and
it was like 12 and a half a month ago.
It's September 24th, and
it's bonkers.
It's tied right now. So, and they have 2 more games left to play. Crazy final week here. Shout out to the Mets. They were down 5-1 in that game. They came back to win. The Reds also lost, so the Mets have reclaimed the final NL wildcard spot. They have a 1-game lead over both the Reds and the D-backs, who were down a run entering the 9th inning of that game. They scored 2 runs off Tanner Scott, came back to win. They're also just 1 game behind the Mets here. So still lots to play for and lots to decide here the final days of the season. Just a reminder that starting next week, we are down to 2 podcasts per week, basically through December. Once we get to January, we'll start to ramp things back up there a little bit. Those podcasts will be out Tuesday and Thursday mornings in your podcast feed. We will not have a weekend recap this Sunday night. So if you're looking for that, we won't be here. So just a heads up. Thanks to those watching live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
You can't count on Derek's tong skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball Today. News and notes. Bryan Woo will not start in his usual rotation spot on Thursday. He left his last outing with pec soreness, and the team said they don't plan to place him on the IL. I was watching some post-game interviews after they clinched a playoff spot, and, they're all throwing champagne all over each other and stuff. And they interviewed Bryan Woo, and they asked how he's feeling. He said, I'll be ready when the time is whenever the time comes. So maybe that'll be the playoffs. Maybe I'll get a start this weekend. So sounds like Bryan Woo has averted disaster. The Brewers are hopeful Trevor McGill will be activated from the IL on Sunday. Kyle Tucker did some running on Monday. He and has returned to Chicago after rehabbing in Florida. So sounds like we're getting closer on Kyle Tucker. The Dodgers, which we already mentioned, they said Ohtani will be used as a starting pitcher in the playoffs in addition to his usual DH duties. Roman Anthony has yet to resume baseball activities. He's on the IL with an oblique strain, and this is just a tough break for the Red Sox here because, look, they're still in a playoff spot. I still think they're going to make the playoffs, but let's be honest, they are far less dangerous without Roman Anthony in their lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a tough spot to be in, just not really knowing if he's going to come back. It's asking a lot of a rookie to come back with no rehab appearances, come back in the playoffs and be a big part of the lineup. But they kind of do need that because a lot of the guys who were doing a lot of carrying in the first half of the season have fallen off. Cedar Rafael and Willie Abreu have not been nearly as good in the second half. Luckily, Trevor Story has remained outstanding, but they could definitely use another impact bat for sure.
We spoke about this yesterday too. Since Alex Bregman has returned from that quad injury, he's been kind of just been mid. It's around a 750 OPS, and look, the defense is still great. Roman Anthony in his short time, and look, I'm not breaking any news. He was the top prospect in baseball. He has elevated himself to the level where, as a Yankee fan, when they're facing the Red Sox, I am most scared when Roman Anthony comes to the plate. It's just, there's no other way around it. He, has elevated himself to that level. Cade Horton left his start early due to back tightness. It sounds like they were just being really, really cautious about that one. Obviously, they want Horton ready to pitch for the postseason. Wyatt Langford was removed from Tuesday's game with left side tightness. He also missed 2 games over the weekend with the same injury. Just been an ongoing thing all year. It's both obliques have caused issues here for Wyatt Langford. I kind of feel like maybe he's going to be a tough one to rank for next season. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I still think there's a lot of potential there. But, he's fine. I think he's gone 2020 this season. He just hasn't really lived up to, I guess, the lofty expectations we've put on him.
He's been a disappointment. That's not the same as he has not been good, but I don't think anybody could disagree that he's been a disappointment. It's just a question of how likely do we still think he is to turn it around. I think it's somewhat likely. I'm certainly not giving up on him, but it is, man, I don't know. Like, he has to go later than he did last season, right? Like, he was still like a top 50 pick.
Yeah, he was a pretty consistent 3rd or 4th round player.
Yeah, I don't think we can do that again. But the underlying numbers are still better than the actual numbers.
Still young enough where he obviously can.
Still very young, still has the tools. And like you said, I think it's 2020, right?
22, and his quality of contact has taken a big step forward this year. 91.4 average exit velocity, 14% barrel rate.
And that's 22 while missing, 25 games or so?
Yeah, he's at 134 games now.
Yeah, so there's no question there is still plenty of upside here. And it's one of those ones where if you bet on the upside and you're wrong, it doesn't really cost you very much because he's still got a decent floor. So
it's not like he sank you or anything this season.
Yeah, like he wasn't worth what you picked him for, but he should probably still be a top 100 pick, I would say.
Sank? That's probably sunk, right? He hasn't
sank. I think sank is
all right. It didn't sound right when I said it, but
is sank a word?
Sank
Feels like the kind of thing we should know. Professional communicators. You sank
I
my.
would barely call myself a professional.
Yeah, you sank my battleship. Yeah, why did that feel weird?
Yeah, it just felt weird saying it, right?
You know what it is? Every time my snooze goes off in the morning and I wake up, I always look at the word snooze and I'm like, that's not right. That combination of letters doesn't seem right. I know it is. They wouldn't put it on the phone if not. You can't put things on the phone if they're not true.
Yeah,
but it always, every time I wake up, I'm like, that word's not right. I'm going back to sleep.
How many times do you hit snooze typically before you wake up?
I've grown more realistic, I would say. I used to do the I'm gonna set my alarm. All right, I don't want to talk about what time I wake up because I know there are people who actually wake up early and they're like, oh, you wake up at 10? But I don't go to sleep until 4:30 most nights. It is 1:20. We still got 40 minutes of podcast left.
Yeah.
We got a long time left. But yeah, I've tried to get away from setting my alarm an hour before I know I'm actually going to wake up, mostly because I don't want to get divorced.
Yeah. I hit the snooze at least 2 to 3 times, and that's with me setting the alarm for noon. So for everyone out there, I know you might say, wow, Frank sleeps till 12:30 every day. What a bum. I like Chris. I also go to sleep at 4:30 every night. So Luke Keeschel was removed with a left thumb injury here on Tuesday. JT Realmuto also left Tuesday night's game with a right index finger contusion. Scary moment for David Fry, who was hit in the face by a 99-mile-per-hour fastball while attempting to bunt. He was carted off the field immediately and transferred to a local hospital. So hoping everything turns out all right there with David Fry. Mackenzie Gore's season is over as he was placed on the IL with a right ankle impingement. The Rays announced that Ian Seymour will pitch out of the bullpen this week. Would have been nice to know that
frustrating
earlier, right? If he's already locked in. Fernando Tatis Jr. has missed 2 straight with an illness. Jeremy Pena has missed 2 straight with oblique soreness. The Astros, by the way, man, they are free falling here. They're currently out of a playoff spot.
So, the thing about Bryan Woo that I was going to mention earlier is I think the Mariners' magic number to win the division is down to 1. I think if they win tomorrow, they win the division. So
I think so.
They might not have any reason to bring Bryan Woo back for the final week of the season. You know, just make sure he's okay for the playoffs.
Xander Bogaerts was activated from the IL on Tuesday. I believe he went 0 for 4 in that game. Austin Hayes has missed 2 straight with back spasms. The Blue Jays activated Anthony Santander and DFA'd Alek Manoah. Even though Santander was activated, he was not in the lineup, which felt kind of weird, but just a fall from grace for Alek Manoah. Part of it, okay, yes, he had Tommy John surgery. He's still kind of coming back from that injury. But he finished 3rd in Cy Young voting back in 2022 and was just never the same after that.
They must really have not liked what they saw in his rehab assignment. I guess he's just pitching at AAA now. He hasn't been terrible. He hasn't been particularly impressive either. 18 walks and 33 in 3rd innings, but a 2.97 ERA. If I was a major league team, I'd take a flyer just to see. It's a cheap look at him over the offseason.
Still 27 years old, right?
Yeah, I would imagine he's arbitration eligible, and maybe a second-year arbitration eligible. So it'll cost you a few $1 million, but baseball teams spend a few $1 million on dumber things than seeing if Alek Manoah can bounce back.
Yeah, his walks per nine are over 5 right now in the minors. That is a problem. Corey Seager and Marcus Semien both will not return for the rest of this season. Seager ends his year with a .271 batting average, 21 homers in 102 games. Semien ends his with a .230 batting average, 15 homers, 11 steals in 127 games. I feel like we should get pretty steep discounts on both guys entering next season. What does that mean for Seager? He was like a 3rd, 4th round pick this year. Is he around 75th, 80th?
That sounds right. We were talking about shortstops yesterday and kind of that there's a really big tier. I think you've got those first rounders, maybe let's call them top 20 picks. Bobby Witt, Ellie De La Cruz, Francisco Lindor, Trey Turner, and Gunnar Henderson. They'll probably be top 20 picks in basically every draft, certainly every roto draft. And then after that, I think you drop like another 30 picks or so. But then you've got a really big tier that I think might run from like the 50th pick to the 100th pick. And you've got Mookie, Perdomo, Corey Seager, CJ Abrams, Zach Neto, Trevor Story, Bo Bichette, Jeremy Pena, where you could almost go in any order with any of that group. And, it kind of depends on what you want. If you want power and speed, there's a few guys there. If you want batting average, certainly Mookie and Bo Bichette. I think Corey Seager's absolutely in that tier. And he might just be dead in the middle of it. And that might be around the 75th pick or something. Semien, I think he's just a middle infielder for 2026. Like we saw some flashes, but if you go month by month for Marcus Semien, I'm pretty sure it ended up just being one good month. I think he had a good, if I'm remembering correctly, I think it was a really good June. And I think that's the only month he had with an OPS over 700 this season.
Either June or July.
It was June, 932 OPS, 4 homers, 324 batting average. His second best month was July with a 699 OPS. So, yeah, I think he's a very low priority middle infield option.
Again, that was Marcus Semien. Andrew Benintendi was placed in the IL with left Achilles tendonitis. The Dodgers will reinstate Roki Sasaki from the 60-day IL on Wednesday. He's expected to pitch out of the bullpen. Astros pitcher Brandon Walter underwent Tommy John surgery on Monday. He was pretty good when he pitched, but now he'll miss most, if not all, of next season as well. Lane Thomas underwent surgery on his right foot on Tuesday and will be sidelined for 3 to 4 weeks. And rejoice. At least some people will. Maybe not all baseball fans. The old heads. The ABS challenge system is coming to baseball in 2026. Each team will receive 2 challenges per game. Believe they earn more challenges.
If you only lose it if you mess it up.
Mm-hmm. I love this. I thought in the All-Star game and during spring training, I thought it was a huge success. Like if we have the technology to get it right, why not?
I will say the most exciting part of this for me was the suggestion that the strike zone box on broadcast will likely be eliminated as a result of this. At least the live one. They'll have one afterwards. But that is the best news for me because I think the K-zone box on your screens has broken all of your brains and made you think that there is a level of umpiring that is possible, and it's not. Like, these guys are missing by like an inch, and I see every single person on Twitter losing their mind. And like, there seems to be this belief that there is like an umpiring epidemic at the major league level, and it's just not the case. And the K-zone is part of it. These accounts that exist solely to rage bait about umpiring are part of it. I think the ABS challenge system is a perfect balance. I personally like the human element. I think like having like the Patrick Baileys of the world who are just defensive whizzes and can get their pitchers extra value. I think that's great. But yeah, let's get the most egregious ones right and give people a chance. What I like is that from what I understand in the minors and in spring training, when players challenged, it was basically 50-50. Like, pitchers are a little better than hitters, apparently, at knowing what was the right call and what was not, which makes sense. They've got a better vantage point, I guess. But these, like, super egregious calls, they're still 50-50 for the guys involved in them. So I think that tells you the umps are actually, unpopular opinion, the umpires are not that bad. That's the take they're going to burn me for.
It is weird that I guess there's only 2 per team per game. So you have to, you got to pick and choose wisely, right? You don't want to use it in the first or second inning on a strike 1 call or something like that. But also you you don't want to use them all up before the end of the game because, you might have a huge moment in the ninth inning or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see the strategy behind using the ABS challenge system next year as well. For those still playing in daily lineup leagues where you can make changes, if you're looking for pitchers later this week, want to talk about a few of these names. Edward Cabrera was okay in his return at the Phillies. 4 innings, 3 runs allowed, 3 strikeouts. He did give up 3 homers in this one, but you want to see the velocity coming back from an elbow injury. It was fine. It was actually slightly up on most of his pitches here. He's 60% rostered, might make a second start later this week against the Mets. Chris, can I interest you at all in Edward Cabrera against the Mets?
There aren't a lot of pitchers making a second start who might be available, so he might be the best one, but I can't say.
It's such a tough matchup, too.
Yeah. I think he's a very interesting pitcher for 2026. I would guess he's not a top 50 pitcher in ADP, but he pitched like one this season for sure. He pitched like a top 36 pitcher before the injury. So I think Edward Cabrera is going to be on a decent number of my teams in 2026.
Shane Smith had a mixed outing at the Yankees, 5 innings, 1 run allowed, but did have 4 walks in this game, 8 strikeouts as well. In the 10 starts since returning from injury, a 3.52 ERA, a 1.14 whip, over a strikeout per inning for Shane Smith during that time. I know the underlying numbers don't exactly buy it. Could get another start at the Nationals on Sunday. That seems kind of interesting for Shane Smith.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'd rather use him than Cabrera, given the limitations that Cabrera is likely to still face. I don't think Smith is great. I think he's like a 4 ERA pitcher who probably needs to take a step forward to be much more than that. But against the Nationals, he can be fine, yeah.
Luis Gil turned in a quality start against the White Sox. 6 innings, 2 runs, 3 strikeouts to 2 walks here. Threw 64% of his pitches for strikes. Velocity was down quite a bit in this start. His fastball was down 1.9 miles per hour. He averaged 93.7 on that pitch. And last year when he was at his best, I mean, we're talking 96, 97, 98 for Luis Gil. So it was down quite a bit here. He does have a quality start in 3 of his last 4 outings. His previous start before this one was obviously very bad. I think people picked him up hoping for the 2-start week. You still might get it. Faces the Orioles later this week. What do you think about that matchup for Luis Gil?
I think he's bad.
I don't think he's pitching well, man. I think he's gotten away with a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has a 5.62 xFIP, 4.24 FIP if you assume that he has some control over not giving up home runs, which last season he did have very good results on balls in play. But yeah, he might be good against Baltimore, but I don't have very much confidence in it.
Yeah, along with the velocity, his whiff rates are down a lot on his fastball and changeup this season. So
I think it just hasn't been right.
I don't know if it's just, he missed so much of the season with that lat strain. Is he completely healthy? His velocity has been down the past couple of starts. I think there are real questions there for Luis Gil, and we'll see what he does in the offseason and how he shows up to spring training, what the velocity looks like then. I think there's talent there. He also has this Blake Snell thing going on where he's so frustrating to watch because he walks so many batters. Sometimes he's pretty good at kind of wiggling out of trouble here, but he puts himself in the line of fire just way too much for my liking. So
I am not sure he should be in the Yankees rotation next season. Or at least I don't think he should be guaranteed a spot in the Yankees rotation, especially once Garrett Cole is ready. I know that if he's not ready for opening day, that'll change things a little bit, but I've just been thoroughly unimpressed by what Luis Gil has done this season.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about their rotation for next season, you've got Cole, Fried, Rodon, obviously. I mean, the way Schlittler has looked,
I think Schlittler's in, yeah.
He's in, and then you have Luis Gil, Will Warren.
Yeah.
You have some other pitchers that are not that far away. I mean, they have some prospects who are in Double-A. Like, they could be knocking on the door at some point next season as well. I mean, maybe Luis Gil's better deployed as a reliever, but again, it's in high leverage situations. If you walk that many, I don't know. I don't really know what they'll do with Luis Gil. Jeffrey Springs was solid against the Astros here. 5 innings, 1 run, only 3 strikeouts here, but mostly averted damage. His 6 starts before this one, not great. 4.70 ERA and a 1.50 whip. Looks like he lines up for the Royals on Sunday pretty good matchup. Also pitching in Sacramento. What do you think about Jeffrey Springs?
Flip a coin. You might get 5 decent innings out of him. You're not likely to get much more than 5 decent innings out of him. He very rarely goes more than 5 innings, but it could happen, yeah.
All right, let's take our final break. When we return, I've got some buy or sell for next season. Some more tough players to rank. O'Neal Cruz, Colson Montgomery, Cole Reagans. We'll talk about those right after this.
I wasn't ready to die.
The wait is over.
I need to know what happened.
Discover the mystery everyone's been talking about. School Spirits, every episode of all seasons now streaming on Paramount+.
Buy or sell for 2026. Riley Green is first up here. Hit his 35th home run of the season. He also has 110 RBI and 812 OPS. He has added more power to the season at the expense of striking out more. He's up to a career high 31% strikeout rate. His 17% barrel rate is also 10th best in all the majors. So, I mean, based on the power metrics, his 35 homers seem pretty legit here. Buy or sell that Riley Green should be drafted as a top 20 outfielder next season.
That feels like a pretty easy one. I'll buy that one.
Top 15 outfielder next season.
15 is a little tougher. Yeah, like
you're in a 15-team league and you get Riley Green as your first outfielder in the I don't know, 4th round. Are you all right?
That feels okay. Yeah. I mean, you're not. I don't think you're ever going to be able to get a great batting average from him. And if I remember, his batting average was pretty high in the first half, and he's down to 223 in the second half. But the power has still been there. Yeah, I think you look at the 260 batting average. I think he's got. That's probably about right. Maybe, the XBA is 251, so that range. So not helpful, but probably not too harmful. I think the 30-plus homers are legit. I think it's going to be a lot of RBI. He's really solid. He's not a superstar, but I think Riley Green, you're perfectly fine with him as a number 2 outfielder in a 12-team league.
Brandon Nimmo made his first start in center field since last year and hit a big home run in this game, 2 for 5 with his 25th homer, 3 RBI, has 3 homers in his past 8 games. And he's just quietly been really solid this season. 261 batting average, 25 homers, 91 RBI, 12 steals, hitting in the middle of a pretty darn good Mets lineup here. Buy or sell Brandon Nimmo drafted as a top 30 outfielder next season?
I don't think he will be drafted that way.
You don't think?
I don't think so.
Okay,
but
so
what?
So you're selling it, unless you would do it.
Well, I think he's pretty likely to finish as a top 30 outfielder. I don't know where he is right now, but I would guess he's.
I think he's 20th.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That was what I was going to say. So I think he's just someone, because he's old, because he's never had a lot of upside. It's fairly easy to pass on him for younger, more interesting guys.
He's a good deep league player,
Yeah,
where
really solid.
Know what you're going to get.
But I just don't think anybody's going to be particularly excited about Brandon Nimmo. So I would guess he gets drafted outside of the top 30 next season.
All right, next up, his teammate Francisco Alvarez, 1 for 3 with a massive go-ahead home run in the 8th inning of that game. It was his 10th homer, 37 games since coming back from the minors. There are multiple IL stints in there, so I'm kind of slicing and dicing here. But since coming back, he's hitting 282 with 7 homers and a 936 OPS. He's looked really good following whatever adjustments he made in the minors. He was mashing down there as well. Buy or sell Francisco Alvarez back over 20 home runs next season?
Buy. I'm really, really excited about what Francisco Alvarez has done since he was demoted. That includes the 12 homers in 26 games that he hit at AAA, but also the 7 in 36 or 37 games since coming back from the minors. He's cut the strikeout rate. The average exit velocity has been like 93 miles per hour since then as well. He won't be a top 12 catcher next season in the rankings, which is
probably
amazing. But he's going to be a high priority number 2 option for me. In any 2-catcher league, I am going to be trying to get Francisco Alvarez is my number 2. I do have him very preliminarily 16th, but that's with Adley Rutschman ahead of him. I have no idea on that one. Also, like, Alejandro Kirk is safer, but there is just no upside there. Does he even have 50 runs this season? I don't think he...
Kirk? No way.
No. Like, as good as he has been, he has 69 RBI and 42 runs. He is just basically just a batting average source. So if you wanted to take Francisco Alvarez ahead of him...
69 RBI for a catcher is pretty good.
It's okay. I think it's like 7th at the position.
Good for a second catcher, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
doesn't really provide much else.
the thing is, Alvarez could be a difference maker. He's only 24. I don't actually, he doesn't even turn 24 until November. So I might be able to talk myself into Francisco Alvarez as high as 14th at catcher.
All right. And the last name here, Logan Webb turned in a quality start against the Cardinals. 6 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, just 4 whiffs on 97 pitches. And I mean, his whip is
high.
so harmful, man. It is a 126 whip. This doesn't matter as much in points leagues. Webb is better in points leagues. He gives you quality starts. He's volume based. He's surpassed 200 innings 3 years in a row now. So from a points league perspective, I still think he's fine. But a 126 whip, according to the player rater, he has provided negative $5 in that category this season. And the buy or sell here is that Logan Webb should not be drafted as a top 20 starting pitcher in Roto next year. In Roto.
I would sell that. Whip is important and easy to overlook. And that is true. But
and it's hard to make up late in the season.
And it's hard to make up for sure. But this is, I guess it was 123 last year, although I think he's pitched much better this season. So I just think he'll have a better whip next season. Like, he's got a super high batting average on balls in play. He is a ground ball pitcher. That can be a problem. You know, you're not going to give up a lot of extra base hits, but you make up for that by giving a lot of singles. I don't know. If he had a 115 whip and was totally fine next season in that category, it would not surprise me. The gains he's made as a strikeout pitcher, I've been very impressed by. Logan Webb might have like one of the highest whiff rates on his 4-seamer of any starter in baseball, which is really fascinating because he uses it in a completely different way than anyone else. It's basically just a put away pitch for him. He only throws it in 2 strike counts, but it's got a 33% whiff rate with the 4-seamer. So I think he's really good. I think the whip is obviously harmful, but I think I'd still take him as a top 20 guy.
I think he's going to be right on that fringe for me. And you just need to be cognizant where if you draft him as your SP2 or as your SP1, you just have to surround him with other good whip pitchers. Yeah. At least based on the last 2 years, it's 123 whip or higher. Here in the second half, it's a 139 whip. That's over a 13-start stretch. So I can tell you, I have Logan Webb in a lot of leagues this season. I did last year too. I always wind up drafting Logan Webb, but sometimes he's a frustrating pitcher to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, a lot of hard contact. It's been more line drives this year, which has contributed to the BABIP and the hits being higher against him this season. So it's frustrating at times, and giving you that much volume, it does hurt the whip quite a bit there for Logan Webb.
He does have the highest whiff rate among starters with his 4-seamer, 33.1%. It's like a 92-mile-an-hour pitch. It's phenomenal.
How often does he throw that pitch?
It's about 10% of the time, but it's, I think, more like 20% in 2-strike situations. He basically never throws it outside of 2-strike situations. He only throws it up in the zone. Yeah. It's just ahead of Brandon Woodruff and Jacob Misiorowski. So that's a fun trio of best whiff rate 4-seamers.
All right, on to more tough players to rank for next season. We spoke a little bit about this yesterday. We didn't get to O'Neal Cruz, who actually just hit his 20th home run of the season. It was just his second homer since August 2nd, and he does have 38 steals, which helps, but he's hitting 203. a 686 OPS. It's just another one where I don't want to write him off. Like maybe he could just get better, but at some point, man, the strikeouts are what they are. The low batting average is what it is. He's only going to be
utter inability to hit lefties.
Yeah, like he's only outfield eligible for next season. I think he's still a big boomer bust play, but yeah, he's going to be a tough one to rank for next year.
I mean, the other thing is he's going to be 27 in 10 days, I think.
Yeah,
he's not as young as you think.
Yeah.
Man. Like, I'm not saying he's a completely finished product, but there's not a ton of room to expect huge growth here. So, I don't know. Top 40 outfielder, maybe.
Yeah, he'll definitely be drafted that way.
But probably not much more than that.
He'll probably still be drafted as a top 30 outfielder, I think.
Man, that's
in roto leagues, in points leagues, he absolutely should.
Oh, I don't think he's even worth being drafted in points leagues. I don't think O'Neal Cruz deserves to be an everyday player at this point.
He's hitting under 200. Well, he's right around 203, so this shouldn't surprise anyone. He's hitting around like 185 since the start of June. It is abysmal.
I think he's hitting 180. I think he's hitting 103 against lefties. Ugh. For his career, he has a 172 batting average and a 560 OPS against lefties. It's only 401 plate appearances, but that's also like, God, what is that like a 40%? That can't be right. I'm trying to do the math in my head.
And I don't know.
That's always risky. 38% strikeout rate against lefties in his career. That is untenable.
I don't know what the answer is either, because I think I proposed this last offseason. Not that O'Neal Cruz or the Pirates listen to this podcast, but like maybe taking a little bit off and not trying to hit for as much power and just focusing on putting the ball in play a little bit more. And even if that leads to, a 250 or 260 batting average, you're on base more. It allows you to run more. And I can't even say that he's sold out for power this year. He has 20 home runs. Yeah. So it's not like he's hitting 203 and striking out over 30% of the time, and he's giving you 40 home runs. Yeah. He has 20. So it's, maybe we find out after the season he's been playing through something. Yeah. I don't know what else the answer would be.
I'm pretty pessimistic about him moving forward. Yeah.
Colson Montgomery destroyed a baseball, hit his 19th home run. It was hit 113.7 miles per hour off the bat and traveled 428 feet. But he was struggling before this game. Previous 14 games, he was hitting 174 with 0 homers, a 37% strikeout rate. He has 19 homers in 66 games. That's a full season pace of 46 home runs. I think the power is pretty legit. I also think the strikeouts and the batting average are, again, I don't want to just pencil him in because he's such a young player. Obviously, he can make improvements, but the strikeout rate is worrisome and will likely lead to a lower batting average.
Yeah, he also just... I know he has prospect pedigree, but he played 236 games between AA and AAA, and there was some power. He hit like 217 across AA and AAA with like a 725 OPS combined. He was really not very good at the minor league level. Remember, he had a 733 OPS before getting called up. I don't know. He is young and he has pedigree and all of that is true. I kind of feel like he's Matt Wallner. And maybe that's not giving him enough credit, but like Matt Wallner has had stretches with a ton of home runs in a very small amount of time. But we know the batting average is always going to be bad. That just, it feels like Montgomery is probably like a 220, 230 hitter. And, okay, if he hits 45 homers, who cares, right? Eugenio Suarez is pretty good. But if it's 30 to 35 homers, I think that's a pretty fringy player. That's not a starter at corner infield, especially, or at shortstop, especially if he's not going to steal any bases. It's probably an okay middle infielder, but it's a hard profile to build a lineup around because you've got to account for that batting average. And usually that means either, hey, your early round picks hit for a good batting average, or you've got to take a flyer on a Luis Arias who just doesn't do anything else.
Yeah. Did you do your preliminary shortstop rankings yet?
Haven't totally finalized it, but yes. And he is 20th.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think he'll be more drafted as a middle infielder.
Yeah.
Or in a shallower league, maybe a bench bat or something like that. I think there's 30 home run upside here, but it's, like, even if you look at his last couple major stops in the minors, this season at AAA, 218, 2024, 130 games at AAA, he had 214. So it's a pretty big sample of a low batting average there for Colson Montgomery. Next up, we have Cole Reagans, who was great at the Angels, 5 innings, 2 runs, 10 strikeouts with 17 whiffs on just 72 pitches. No surprise, 13 of those on the fastball. We know the Angels swing and miss a lot, especially on fastballs here. He is incredibly tough for next season because while the surface level stats are not great, the underlying stuff is still tremendous for Cole Reagans. On top of that, he has... he missed a large majority of the season with a rotator cuff strain in his pitching shoulder. So I don't like a low end SP2 with upside to be an SP1, maybe.
I think that's exactly right. I think you draft him around 20th among pitchers. Like, I can't come up with a good reason why I would draft Blake Snell ahead of him, right? Like, I think Cole Reagans is... I feel better about projecting Cole Reagans' performance than Blake Snell. And while Blake Snell has had less serious injuries in this one, he missed time this year with a shoulder injury as well. So I would think those two guys are going to be in the 20 range and should probably just be drafted very, very close to each other, if not back-to-back.
Cole Reagans or Logan Webb? Very different pitchers.
Might depend on who I got with my first pick.
Yeah.
My first pitcher. I don't know, because I'd probably just go Logan Webb. But that's very tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, David Peterson continues to struggle big time. This start at the Cubs, he only lasted an inning and a third. He allowed 5 runs in this one. And over his last 5 starts, a 12.54 ERA and a 2.30 WHIP. He's allowed 26 earned runs over 18 2/3 innings. The underlying numbers still say he should be more like a mid to high 3s ERA guy. But, we kind of felt like he was pitching over his head at times throughout the course of the season. He kind of just feels like top 75 SP that you use in the right matchups type guy.
He does not need to be drafted in a 12-team league.
I think it's a little bit better. He'll still be pitching for a good Mets team.
So the thing
he goes deep into starts typically.
My thought process here is David Peterson, his xERA the last 3 seasons, 4.93, 4.56, 4.44. Now, last year, his actual ERA was 2.90. And up until about the midway point, maybe end of July this season, it was like right in that same range. I think it was sub 3 again. 283 at the end of July. And so the argument was, well, the peripherals say what they say, but we're going on a year and a half now of him being a sub 3 ERA pitcher. The problem was, even when that was happening, it was a 125 whip. It was pretty mediocre strikeout rates. He was going somewhat deep into games pretty regularly. He was getting some wins. Okay, that's all great. But a lot of his value was dependent on him being a standout in ERA in a way that his peripherals did not back up. And now the actual numbers reflect that the peripheral wasn't very good. And so that shatters the illusion that he has some ability to outperform his peripherals that other pitchers don't. I just don't see much reason to buy into that as a result. It could just be, maybe I'm being unfair, I'll grant, but I was not a believer in David Peterson. The last 2 months have made that look good, but when I'm looking at guys to rank in the 60 through 75 range, I just don't see a lot of reason to draft and rank a guy like David Peterson who just doesn't have a ton of upside. Yeah,
outside of a deeper league, you probably just want to shoot for upside in those later rounds of drafts. And in deeper leagues, you kind of just want quality innings and guys that, maybe pitch on good teams, give you a chance at wins and things like that. So it might just be format and league size dependent, where
also
David Peterson's being drafted.
Is he guaranteed to be starting for the Mets next season?
Yeah, that I was just thinking about that too.
Like,
you have to think the three
young guys
will be in there. They still have Manaea. They're paying a lot of money.
Yeah, I would think Manaea is ahead of him. And then...
do they use Clay Holmes as a starter or reliever?
Yeah, I would think Clay Holmes can be in there.
Kodai Senga's still getting money.
Kodai Senga, if he, gets back on track. I would guess we're going to see a lot of six-man rotation from them next year.
I also think that's been their biggest weakness all season. I know that the David Stearns philosophy is not to pay for pitching, but kind of feels like they need to go out and get a legit kind of SP1, right?
Would not surprise me if they did that as well. So, yeah, I think there's a decent chance David Peterson is more of a spot starter for the Mets or rotation depth.
Yeah, he might be. Last name on this list is Hurston Waldrep, who was solid against the Nationals. 6 innings, 1 run, but 4 walks here to 5 strikeouts. Did get a ton of whiffs, 17 on 92 pitches. Velocity was up in this one. But, he's been walking quite a bit, 4+ walks in 3 of his last 5 outings. That was a pretty big problem for him in the minors as well. The overall numbers still look very good, and young pitcher, big pedigree, should be on a very good Braves team next year. I think there's upside here, but maybe more volatility than the other young pitchers that we're excited about for next season.
I think there's a chance that he's just running out of steam. All right, like he threw 101 2/3 innings in 2023. Actually, 131 innings in 2023 between college and his pro debut. He threw 90. He threw 100.1 last year, and now he's up to 147 or something. So I think there's a chance he's just running out of steam, and that explains the walk rate. But up until the last, 7 or 8 starts, there wasn't a ton to get excited about with Hurston Waldrep. I know he had prospect pedigree before last year, especially. I honestly have no idea at all what to do with Hurston Waldrep for 2026.
I still think he's an exciting pitcher. He gets decent whiffs and gets a lot of ground balls.
He's got the splitter is a standout pitch. It's a really legitimately great pitch. I'm thinking top 60 starting pitcher, but probably not top 50.
That probably sounds right.
Without having done, I will have a better answer by Thursday evening. I'm not going to be on the podcast on Thursday. So I don't know, the next time I'll be on the show. Next week?
Next week, yeah.
Today's Wednesday, right?
Monday night?
Today's Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday.
So I'll be back tomorrow.
Now it's Wednesday.
Well, now it's Wednesday. We haven't gone to sleep yet. It'll be Wednesday at 4 a.m. So I will have my initial rankings done in a week. Whenever I'm on the show again after tomorrow, I will have a better answer. Although I think I'm only going 48 deep at starting pitcher, and Waldrep probably won't be in that. So yeah. I guess I won't have an answer for Hurston Waldrep until much later in the offseason.
Anything to see here for these lower end players? Anything to see for next season with these guys? Heriberto Hernandez of the Marlins, 3 for 5 with his 10th homer. He has 3 home runs in his past 10 games. He's been solid, 269 batting average, 785 OPS. Did hit 23 home runs in 104 games in the minors last year. Zebby Matthews had a great start at the Rangers, 7 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts to 0 walks. Randy Vasquez randomly had a great start against the Brewers, threw 7 shutout innings there. His velocity was up a lot across the board as well. Somebody named McCade Brown had a strong start for the Rockies. They were facing the Mariners. 5 innings, 1 run, 10 strikeouts here for him. And his velocity was also way up. Actually had great numbers in the minors this year, but he plays for the Rockies. So do you think any of these names can matter next season, Chris, and likely deeper leagues?
I think 2 of them can. McCade Brown, he's not a totally uninteresting player, but it's the Rockies. He's not interesting enough to matter there. Randy Vasquez, I don't see any reason to be interested in him. I think he's just a 6th starter for them. Zebby Matthews, we've talked a lot about this season, and he's made us look kind of dumb for a lot of the season. But the things we like about him are still there. 25% strikeout rate, 7% walk rate. Those are both very good marks. His slider gets a ton of whiffs. His changeup has the potential to as well. The biggest problem is he gets hit really, really hard. And that is a bad thing. You don't want to get hit hard as a pitcher. Not breaking any ground there. But it's also something that fluctuates a lot from year to year. And so if that's your biggest limitation as a pitcher, that's not a bad pitcher to bet on. I don't think Zebby Matthews has to be I don't even think top 75 pitcher for next season, but a dart throw in a 12-team league, or, even in a 15-team league, he might make it to the bench rounds. I think he's interesting enough for that. And then Hernandez is, there are some skills here. He's been actually putting up pretty decent underlying numbers all season. He has a 423 expected WOBA on contact. That's a very good mark. 341 expected WOBA compared to a 332 actual WOBA. I don't think he's likely to be more than a high 700s, low 800s OPS bat, but I think he's in a 15-team league. Heriberto Hernandez could matter as a bench piece for 2026.
Yeah, we have to see what the Marlins do in the offseason and whether or not he'll have an everyday job or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But, he hits the ball pretty hard. And he's mildly interesting there. Heriberto Hernandez. Hitters who are finishing strong. Francisco Lindor, he had that rough June and July. He was dealing with injury. But since the start of August, he is hitting .319 with 9 homers, 45 runs scored, 14 steals, and an OPS over 950. He is 1 homer away from going 30-30, and
he's never done it.
Is that true? Didn't he do it two years ago?
Maybe he's done it once then, but it was surprising.
He just missed it last year.
Yeah, when I was looking recently, I don't think he got there. Oh, he did have the 31-31 his third year with the Mets, yeah.
Yeah. He's just you look at the last 3 years, he's right around 30-30, 255 to 270 batting average. He's pretty consistent.
Awesome second round pick for sure.
Michael Harris, 2 big games in a row. He hit 2 home runs here on Tuesday, and on Monday he had 3 steals in a game. His updated second half numbers: 296 batting average, 13 homers, 7 steals, 837 OPS. Kind of crazy that he's up to 85 RBI with how bad he was in the first half of the season, but the Braves have a lot of great hitters, so I guess that has contributed. Nico Horner, big September, hitting .373 with 20 runs scored, 6 steals, a .922 OPS. And Ivan Herrera hit another homer last 23 games for him, .293, 9 home runs, an OPS over 1,000 during that time. Anything to add on Harris, Horner, or Herrera? Triple H.
Herrera's awesome. Nico Horner is what he is. Great source of batting average. Score about 90 runs, steal about 30 bases. That has value. Harris is the wild card here. I have no idea what I'm going to do with him in the rankings. He is still, I think, only 24 years old. Is he even 24 years old?
That sounds crazy.
He was so young when he broke it. He's 24. He turns 25 in March, so just before opening day. He hit a home run. I think his second home run today was 450 feet.
Wow.
The physical tools remain outstanding. He hits the ball really hard. He makes a lot of contact despite having pretty terrible plate discipline. I think there's a decent chance that we're looking at the end of 2026 and Michael Harris had a better season than Pete Crow-Armstrong. I think they're very similar players. Crow-Armstrong, a little more in-game power right now because he pulls the ball, but I think those guys, look, you're going to draft Pete Crow-Armstrong ahead. He stole more bases, but
much higher. But they might go 100 picks apart.
Yeah, and that might be a situation where it's like, okay, yeah, you'd rather have Pete Crow-Armstrong, but if that's the price difference, I might take Michael Harris and just pass on Pete Crow-Armstrong and just take Michael Harris. He's only a year younger than Pete Crow-Armstrong. That is bonkers. He's almost exactly 1 year younger than Pete Crow-Armstrong, Michael Harris is.
Yeah, that is, you forget how young he was when he got called up, Michael Harris was, but look, he's still a great defender there. As a result,
there's no playing time risk. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Braves lineup as a whole should bounce back next season as well.
Although we said that Almost exact same words this time last year. So
that is true. Some leftovers here. Ellie De La Cruz might be coming back to life here. 3 for 3 with his 21st home run. He's homered in 2 of his last 4 games. Kyle Schwarber hit his 54th home run of the season. Tarek Skubal pitched well. Also made some boneheaded plays in that game, but 6 innings, 3 runs, one of those earned with 8 strikeouts here. Christopher Sanchez was great again, this time against the Marlins. 7 shutout innings with 6 strikeouts, and he leads all of baseball with 22 quality starts on the season. Anything to add on Sanchez, Skubal, Schwarber, Ellie?
Nope. Got nothing to add.
All right, the call to the bullpen for the Guardians. Cade Smith struck out 2 for his 16th save. For the Pirates, Dennis Santana got the 9th with a 2-run lead. He picked up his 15th save. Hunter Barco also made his debut. He pitched in the 6th inning of that game. He allowed 2 hits and actually picked up his first Major League win. For the Phillies, Yohan Duran got the 9th with a 1-run lead. He allowed a game-tying homer, took his 5th blown save. The Phillies would eventually lose in extra innings. For the Red Sox, Aroldis Chapman picked up his 32nd save. For the Braves, Raisel Iglesias, his 28th save. For the Mets, Edwin Diaz was amazing. He pitched 2 perfect innings with 5 strikeouts for his 27th save.
How wild is it that Raisel Iglesias has more saves than Edwin Diaz?
Pretty wild.
Like,
Raisel
Edwin Diaz
Iglesias
pitches for...
Iglesias lost his job.
For, 2 months? It was, a long time.
At least 1 month, I would say.
And the Braves are a significantly worse team than the Mets. That's weird.
Did Diaz get hurt or...
No, I don't think Diaz has...
for a little bit? I don't think so, right?
I think Diaz has had, a fairly quiet year for him, because I know the last couple of seasons there have been some ups and downs, but I don't think there's been any... No, he's been available. It's just...
Saves are just impossible, Chris.
He has 4 saves since the start of August, despite a 2.55 ERA entering tonight's start.
Edwin Diaz, that is.
Edwin Diaz, yeah.
Well, that's because the Mets haven't been winning.
The Mets have been terrible, yeah.
Yeah. For the Twins, Cole Sands got the 9th inning with a 3-run lead. He picked up his 3rd save. For the Mariners, Andres Munoz picked up his 38th. For the Giants, Ryan Walker got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. He gave up 2 runs on 4 hits, took his 7th blown save and 7th loss. Also blew the win for Logan Webb, unfortunately. For the Cardinals on the other side, Jojo Romero got the bottom of the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. He recorded 2 outs. He gave up a hit. He was replaced by Riley O'Brien, who got the final out for his 6th save. And for the Dodgers, this bullpen remains a problem. Tanner Scott got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead, gave up 2 runs on a hit by pitch, a walk, and a hit. Took his 10th blown save and 4th loss of the year. Tanner Scott, a 4.91 ERA and a 1.27 whip.
I have joked that his strategy this season has just been to throw the ball down the middle of the plate and just see what happens. And that's only kind of a joke because his walk rate is way down, but he's become a much worse pitcher as a result. The game-winning hit to Geraldo Perdomo was literally I don't know if there has been a more center of the strike zone pitch than the slider he threw to Geraldo Perdomo to end the game today. It could not have been more right smack dab in the middle. He's been bad. I don't know if it's a decision that he made, if it's a Dodgers decision, but all season long, his walk rate has been better than ever. I think it's the lowest of his career. And his expected WOBA on contact is by far the highest it's been, I think, since he was a rookie. And I don't know if it's a conscious decision. I haven't read anything to that extent, but this has not been a trade-off worth making. You would rather have the unhittable but wild Tanner Scott than what they've gotten this season.
To stream or not to stream on Wednesday, we have Bryce Elder against the Nationals, Tyler Wells against the Rays, Ryan Weathers at the Phillies, Max Scherzer against the Red Sox, Taj Bradley at the Rangers, Stephen Kolek at the Angels, Jonah Tong at the Cubs, Yusei Kikuchi against the Royals, and Luis Severino home against the Astros.
Kolek is okay.
I like Tyler Wells.
I think Tyler Wells is fine. I could see a good start from Taj Bradley. I could see a good start from Jonah Tong. I could see a good start from Yusei Kikuchi. I don't think I want to use any of the bottom 3, though.
Yeah. I would go Wells, Kolek, and I've said it all week. I'm going to stick with it. Bryce Elder. I think he has a good start against the Nationals. I picked him up, and I'm
Maybe.
starting him in a few leagues, so let's go Bryce Elder.
Maybe. He's had a decent run, and the Nationals are very bad.
And then on Thursday, we have Braxton Ashcraft at the Reds. I think that will probably be a pretty short start. That's what most of his starts have been recently. Tyler Mahle against the Twins. JT Ginn against the Astros. Jansen Junk at the Phillies. Walker Buehler against the Marlins. Parker Messick against the Tigers.
I think Parker Messick's the only one I like.
I think Tyler Mahle could be okay.
I just don't expect him to throw many pitches. He only got up to, mid-60s?
Yeah, so maybe 75.
Yeah, I think you're probably hoping for 75, maybe 80 at the most. And he could get through 5 innings. It's possible he gets through 6. It's just that's not a great bet to make. He might be second. I would not be surprised if Jansen Junk and Walker Buehler had decent starts, but I'm not going to bet my season on that at this point.
Yeah, Tyler Mahle threw 68 pitches in his last start, so yeah, maybe 75 to 80.
Yeah, maybe 80.
There for Tyler Mahle. We are going to wrap there. For Chris, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning into Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.